In episode number 342 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the very first official Joker teaser trailer.
We also have Batman's induction into the Comic-Con Hall of Fame. Is he the very first character to be put in there? You bet he is.
We have our comic book highlight of Detective Comics number 1080 Years of Batman.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Cool Trainer Daniel.
And I am Emperor Papa Kelli.
For those of you new to the show, the way we format it is first we go through some news. We head into the Broke Hip block, which is where Papa Kelli and I have been this week. We then transition into the Patreon shoutouts of the week. The thank yous, the people that make everything possible, make the show that you're listening to right now happen every week. And finally, we end it with a movie or comic book review, which this week it is Detective Comics.
We have a whole lot of comic news for you this week, though. The first bit comes from a WonderCon panel, which happened last week.
So Batman superstar writer Scott Snyder, of course from the Court of Owls, we know him from the Endgame series that he did, and also the Death of the Family in the New 52. Well, he talked about how his love of Batman almost got him into deep trouble.
He touched on how he wasn't handling the pressure of Court of Owls too well and confessed, quote, "I got into fights with people. Once got into a huge argument with Dan DiDio, who is the publisher of DC Comics, at a party, about stuff that was legitimate, but I lost the point in my drunken stupor. I was yelling at him when another editor came over and told me to calm down and leave. I went to the Marvel party because I was smart," end quote.
He went on to say that by the time he got there, everyone had heard that he had gotten into it with DiDio. Grant Morrison, of all people, advised him then that whenever he reaches this point of passion, this level of passion, to write the birth and death of your character. That's actually how he developed Batman Zero Year and also the upcoming Batman The Last Night on Earth, which we're getting through DC's Black Label.
It sounds like it all worked out well for him, but I can just imagine just being drunk and so passionate about what you're talking about that you're just getting into fights with people.
Yeah, I think, I've definitely been there, where you're arguing.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know you have.
It's like your argument is probably sound when you're sober, but then when you're drunk, you just start kind of
pulling different things from like out of left field and throwing it all together. Yes.
And this is what happened with poor Scott. But as you said, we ended up getting the news, two great stories out of it, or at least one we know of for sure with Endgame, I think is what he mentioned. And then now we're getting Zero Year is what he mentioned. Last Night on Earth is coming out. This was originally the All-Star Batman story, the final one, before the series got cut. But that's when Greg Capullo and Snyder were still going back and forth on that story, and DC instead decided to make it its own standalone miniseries under the Black Label line. The only thing now is it's going to be in a standard-sized comic. It's not going to be in that magazine-sized format, which it sounds like they're not going to go with anymore moving forward. But at least we're going to see that story, and in some way, the Black Label line is still continuing.
I love that Morrison was the one to give him advice, as if he knew. He had definitely been there before.
What do you think of? There's an alternate future somewhere where he does get fired and he's gone. I like that he went to the Marvel party and they're like, "Oh, we heard what happened, man," and he's still drunk as he got there. I'm sure.
Of course he is. I really related because you have been there many times. And I have always enjoyed your drunk ramblings when you just go on and on. about something.
The issue is I'm not writing and making them into fucking comic books.
I mean, this is true. But one time you made me listen to some Spanish song like 14 times. And you really wanted me to analyze the lyrics that I could not understand.
Sounds right.
But you were very passionate about it. So I listened and I finally said, let's go to bed, honey. That's what Didio should have just said to him. Let's just go to bed, honey.
Let's go to bed, honey. I ship it. More news out of WonderCon. The DC Universe service has unveiled that 20,000 digital comic books are going to be added to the lineup on this app.
That's an insane amount of comics. 20,000 comics.
Our Discord was going nuts about that, where it's like,
nobody
especially
tagged
with
me to let me know we were going nuts about it, but that's fine.
Omni, who is a digital comic reader because his nearest comic shop is a ways away, said that this was amazing and this was great, and he's going to really take advantage of it as a user of DC Universe. I've tried using the app and the Roku to read these digital comics. It's still not for me. I can't do it, but it is great for readers that can consume all of that now included in the price of DC Universe. And as we all know now, it actually did not affect comic shops in a negative way. It actually ended up helping, where people do read these issues and then they want to own it physically, or from there, they expand into other stories that are not offered on these digital platforms.
I think it is a great idea to especially include that in the service because, one, you're getting more out there, exactly like you said, right? More people are becoming aware of this. But two, this could also be a big draw to purchase the service because it's $8 a month. Is that what it came out to?
I think when you break it down in that yearly cost, it's around that
around
amount,
$8.
Yeah.
So $8 a month, 20,000 comics. That's able to keep you entertained for years. Or months. I don't know. I don't know how much people read. But that's a lot of content for $8 a month. Definitely worth it if that's the only reason you're getting the app as well.
We have a quote here from DC Universe Senior Vice President and General Manager Sam Ades, who said, quote, "From the time DC Universe launched last year, our fans have loved the comic experience and have asked us for just one thing, more. The expansion to thousands of titles in January 2019 was a first step in our goal to deliver on that request, to provide DC Universe members full access to the pantheon of DC's epic superhero stories. We're thrilled to respond to our fans yet again with the incredible value of the ultimate DC digital comics library," end quote.
Next, they're going to add fan fiction, and then I will be all about it. I'll be on that app all day long.
They should add fan fiction that you can submit your stories to, and then Palpa Kelli can have her own tab.
I'll palp approve or palp deny.
And then we'll overlook for a little bit that we're still not on that DC Universe panel of people.
But only for a brief while, but I'll still overlook it.
Yeah, until we get into that
you
panel.
You will be palpa pardoned for a hot second.
Always great to hear that this is becoming a more valuable app, and it is really shaping out to be that experience that DC fans, DC Belugas, were really hoping for.
How long till we get the Marvel version?
I think they have Marvel Unlimited already. Like, it's already a thing.
Who cares? Clearly.
Well, there's no Marvel Universe, but I think they're gonna, with now the Disney monopoly deal that has happened, a lot of that they're going to distribute into Hulu, which is now they own majority of, and then some of it probably into Disney Plus, but I don't know what content is actually going to make it on there that's Marvel aside from Big Hero 6.
Who cares?
We got more Comic-Con news, though.
Batman is going to be the first character entered into the Comic-Con Museum's Character Hall of Fame. As well he should be.
Holy shit, people were mad. And who's the other character that you think people were like, no, it should be this person?
Like Superman?
Yeah, people said Superman.
Nah.
Because their argument is, and it's a sound argument, Superman inspired so many of these comic book heroes, including Batman, that he should have been the first, is what a lot of people are saying, that he really made DC.
But have you seen Batman? Have you read Batman?
I mean, yeah, my argument is like, but guys, clearly Batman's a better character.
Well, clearly.
Let's not mess around here. This was announced in the Batman panel at WonderCon Saturday with Jim Lee, Batman himself, Kevin Conroy,
Yeah.
David Mazouz from Gotham, and Lee Merriweather from Batman 66 in attendance. I mean, that's who you have to have on there. Obviously, Bruce Timm was missing, Paul Dini, but you got Kevin Conroy there.
Kevin was representing the animated series. The ceremony inaugurating Batman into the Character Hall of Fame is scheduled for July 17th, 2019 at the museum's future home, the Federal Building in San Diego's Balboa Park. Their ceremony will include authentic props and memorabilia displays, along with appearances by artists, writers, actors, and celebrities connected to the Batman mythos. Let's go. Booking
This
my
is
plane
the fucking
ticket.
year of Batman.
Amazing.
How much of this do you think it has to do with the fact that it is Batman's 80-year anniversary? They did it with Superman last year. They had like a whole year of Superman things. Like there was all kinds of events happening, movies, comics. It's it's Batman's time now. Like it's always Batman, but like really,
But
let's
it's
highlight
Batman
this shit.
time. I don't think him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame is just because it's the 80th year or just because it's the 1000th issue. I don't think that because you wouldn't.
It's got to have some give.
Maybe a little bit, but if you're sitting there, that's a pretty big decision, right? You're on this committee and you're saying, who is the very first superhero we're going to induct? By inducting this person, we're saying it's the very best. I don't care whose anniversary it is. You're putting a lot of thought into that decision to pick the very best. And obviously, Batman's the very best, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think the panel went, well, it's his 80th, so let's just give it to him.
I don't know. I do think there is some give. Who do you do next year, though? Do you give it to Superman then?
Yeah, sure.
Like how you're like, I mean, whoever.
Whatever.
Can we do Bruce Wayne? I mean,
and then
different people,
and
right?
then like old man Bruce Wayne
There you go.
from Batman Beyond, and then maybe Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred would be a great one. Yes. Bruce pre his parents' death.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one, too.
Do you think they're going to switch off back and forth with Marvel and DC?
I mean, if they do Marvel, and based on how popular the characters are with the people I interact with every day at the comic shop, it would have to be Spider-Man.
Of course.
When they do Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think next year it should be Superman. Like, it's like, all right, fine, let's do Superman now. And then you can maybe do Spider-Man if you really want to.
I'm glad they're doing Batman first. It needs to happen. Great for Batman. Do you want to go to the inauguration? If I could get us a trip there, would you want to go?
There are tickets. They're going to have tickets for this event. And I do kind of want to go. Like, what Batman fan does not want to be there?
Right. I mean, I could probably make it happen.
We'll look into it. If it's available, maybe we'll stream it out for the Brocat Core, or if any Brocat Core members are going, we can do a little meetup there.
That would be so much fun. We need somebody to watch our baby. Who's going to watch our baby?
No, he has to be there too. He loves Batman the Animated Series' opening, and he claps during the Joker. So
he does. He did. He watched that trailer like 4 times. We'll get to that later, guys. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I just got so excited.
Switching on over to the comic book side of things, DC Comics has unveiled an all-new title logo for Detective Comics, which is going to debut on April 10th, so just a few days away, with issue number 1001.
The previous logo has been in circulation since 2003, so it was time for an upgrade.
The newer logo it reminds me of the Brave and the Bold cartoon.
Okay.
Like that logo. It's very bright. It's got the bright blue. It's got the yellow. It's got the black. Still says Batman Detective Comics on it. And it's got the big Batman logo. First impressions, Palpa Kelly.
I had to think about that for a minute. I liked it. It wasn't as dark as the previous logo, because the previous logo was like, yeah, it's Batman. And like you said, this does feel more like Brave and Bold. It's lighter. For first impressions, and again, I haven't seen it on a cover, right? We've just seen the logo itself. So you don't know where it's going to be situated on the cover, how big they're going to make it. Obviously, it's probably going to be pretty big regardless. Having not seen it on a cover with art behind it, I don't know that I can safely say how it will make me feel going into the book. I think it was time for an upgrade. This very much, obviously being the Batman logo, gives the appearance of Batman, so you know that that's what it's all about.
It's definitely a very striking logo. It's going to stick out on the comic book stands, especially compared to some of the other logos they've had.
The first thing I thought actually when I saw it was, how many people are going to get this tattooed?
Really? You think people are going to go for that?
Oh, hell yeah. You don't think people are going to get that tattooed? I think it would lend itself very well to a tattoo.
If you guys find it, if it's going to happen, it probably happened by now because the logo's been out for almost a week.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if you guys are able to find that very first person that gets this version of Detective Comics on there. But as I was saying, it's going to stick out on the stands. It's going to look great on the titling. But as it is kind of a brighter logo, when it does come to that point of like a fucked up cover, you know, like, it's not going to be
Barbara Gordon getting shot.
Sure. Like, and then that bright logo on it, it's going to be like, all right, it's going to be a little bit contrasting, but that's all the editor's job. That's all the artist's job. Right. So I'm not too concerned with that. The one complaint I did see is that people were saying, well, how come Batman's name is on the titling? It's like, it's been on the titling. It's Batman. And it's not going to deter people from buying the comic because it says Batman Detective Comics. So it's a non-issue.
Of course Detective Comics are all about Batman. You're going to slap that shit on there. I would slap it everywhere. If my book even had like a hint of Batman, like his shadow, I would be like, Batman, and then the name of the comic.
Well, it's just like Justice League. I mean, really, in our minds,
right.
It's Batman and Friends.
Justice League, yes.
Batman and the other Robins. All, what,
Batman
hundreds of them?
And the acquaintances. Batman and the people he puts up with so he can save the world. So he can save the world.
That's right, yeah.
I was trying to find a tattoo. There isn't one. There's some pretty badass Batman tattoos, though. Oh, man, look at this Iron Giant tattoo.
Everyone needs an Iron Giant tattoo. It doubles as a Superman one.
Aw, Superman.
The greatest.
Now I'm sad. Why'd you make me sad? Look at this shitty Robin tattoo.
Tim Drake.
It's so shitty.
Well, now I got to save it and tweet it because people are going to want to see it.
All right, fine. I'll tweet it.
Continuing on, and this time over to Image Comics, of all things, but it does relate to actually the comic shop because I've already had people ask about this. Through an Instagram post, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane has revealed that DC's Jim Lee, and he used to be one of the co-founders of Image Comics, is going to be doing some work on Spawn 300, which is very quickly coming up.
When asked about this, Palpa Kelly said, who cares? Why isn't Jim Lee, why is he wasting his time when he could be doing Batman?
He has a soft spot in his heart for Image Comics, and those are still his buddies in spite of the way he left that company.
Who cares? He just needs to do Batman. This is the year of Batman. Tell him to stop wasting his time.
Well, you know,
Spawn.
We're going to go see the Spawn movie. And McFarlane's also the co-creator of Venom, which we did like. We liked his movie, not so much the comics, but I love that McFarlane called out straight up one of the Marvel
Jim Lee. Jim Lee's doing it.
Well, not even that, but before that, and this is where a lot of DC Belugas kind of bring out that GIF and that video, is last year, he rolled his eyes at the interviewer who was essentially telling him, like, asking him why isn't it more in line with what the Marvel Universe is doing? And he's like, are you fucking serious? It's Spawn. Like, fuck off. Like, there's always that gif of him rolling his eyes. It's amazing.
Right.
So we put that out every time it's like some MCU sheep comes out and it's like, fucking McFarlane. And I know from the stories I've heard, he's not the nicest guy, but I mean, he's entertaining as hell, and I love his viewpoint on all of this shit, and I definitely want to support him on the Spawn film.
Well, I'm sure it's super frustrating when he gets questions like that, because clearly the interviewer has no idea what his book is about. He has no idea what the character is about. If he's saying, well, why isn't it more like this? Like, because that's not my character.
There's not going to be any fucking jokes in this shit. It's going to be, he said it's going to be a horror film. And I know very early on, he said it's going to be a whole new look to Spawn, not the giant cape and all of that. And that made some Spawn fans a little bit nervous, but it's like, guys, it's the creator of Spawn. Whatever he decides to make is also his creation. Like, it's fine. It's not like it's someone else coming in and changing his work, which it's like, even then, it's like, wait for the movie to come out. If it's a good film, it's a good film. But this is also the creator. This is now his interpretation of film Spawn, and he has his hands all over it. But back to the comic book, issue 300.
I'm going to need your help with some of these names, because we know that is not my Palpa strength, is names.
There's a Palpa weakness?
No, it's just not my Palpa strength.
Some political shit right there.
I am the emperor. I did earn this role as ruler of all. So Jim Lee was a co-founder of Image Comics, like you just said, along with Eric Larson, who did Savage Dragon.
Wills Portacio, who worked on The Punisher,
Mark
Silvestri.
Thank you.
Cyberforce, of course.
And Jim Valentino of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Jim had previously done Spawn work in issues 150 and 200, so it's not like this is his first time jumping into
Doing
Spawn.
Some key issues and helping out. DC and McFarlane Toys have recently signed a 3-year deal to produce action figures based on DC characters.
So obviously the two companies are playing nice. There is a relationship there between Todd McFarlane and DC Comics. Todd plans on... He plans on returning to Spawn as the writer and artist, starting with issue number 301.
Issue 300 has not been solicited. Keep an eye out on the upcoming previews catalogs.
A lot of people are speculating on whether or not this, and he's done it before already, but maybe he'll do the cover just like Spider-Man 300, which was the first full appearance of Venom, but it has like that Spider-Man circle logo, and it has the 300s all over it. If I showed you a picture, I'm sure you've seen it. And Spidey doing his web, and he's done that with Spawn before, but will he do it again for issue 300? It's got to be one of the variants.
You think so?
And there's going to be several.
Yeah. At least a variant. Maybe not the main cover, but at least a variant for sure.
If he really wanted to have a throwback to that issue, he should introduce his universe's Venom in the Spawn universe in that last page of Spawn number 300. If he does that, once again, just like last week, you heard it here first.
Stop spoiling things, Daniel. We all know you have friends in high places.
Just Jeff Johns. Leave it alone.
And the Papa Kelly.
And Papa Kelly.
I know
Come
all.
on, I'm trying. It's fine.
I know most things. Some things I like to be surprised by. Or at least let you think I'm surprised. Like when we see movies, I really know all the answers. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe that happened.
It's just like the fucking Godzilla Netflix movies in which you predicted every fucking thing. And that's the next thing on our list. It is Godzilla, the King of the Monsters. The latest fucking trailer from Warner Brothers.
Do you like my Godzilla, Roy?
You tried. No one can do Godzilla like Zilla. As I play, like a little tangent, as I played the 1998, I think it is, Godzilla, the American one with Matthew Broderick, which a lot of those shots seem to have been just on one take, but I do want to sit down and watch the movie with you because it's not as terrible as we remember,
Really?
honestly. Like there's so much in there that it's like, that's fucking funny. At the very end, when the general, there's this weird relationship, and we bring it up all the time between the coworkers and I, and it's always the general where there's relationship between him and one of the guys that he's on the phone with. Not even a main character, but we've seen them kind of interact throughout the movie. At the end of the fucking movie, General says, "That's a hell of a job, son." Cuts back to the guy, and he's still like almost in tears, and he cuts back to the general. "It's a hell of a job." And then cuts back again, and he's like pausing, for, like just fucking fidgeting for a minute, and then he says, "Thank you, sir." And we always joke, like Sean always says, "Thank you, Dad." I mean, sir. It's like, I want to explore that guy.
Right?
Like, what fucked up childhood did he have?
Spin-off movie with that guy.
Yeah, let's explore. So there's a lot of little things like that. That's
All
like,
right.
that's interesting.
We'll have to watch it. Maybe we
Yeah.
should live tweet while we watch it.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then you have classic Godzilla roar in that. Like, it's remade. And it's,
Rawr.
like, I know it's not really Godzilla, but they really did try to make it sound like Godzilla, and it actually does work.
Have they brainwashed you while you're watching this? They flash the McDonald's logos and shit?
Maybe I like Cable Guy so much that Matthew Broderick's performances are just like, elevate the film.
I'll watch it with you, and I'll tell you if it's really good or if you're just brainwashed.
Well,
by
the other
Matthew
thing they
Broderick.
do, and it doesn't get enough credit, but within like the first 20 minutes, it ends up just being a Godzilla film straight on. It's not like, oh, the humans for an hour, and now we're going to get Godzilla. No, we get Godzilla in the first 20 minutes, and he just fucking wrecks shit. Or she. It self-replicates, so.
You leave the old Godzilla movies alone where it was about the people for a while.
I'm just saying it is a monster movie.
I was very bored in those old movies, but I enjoyed them.
It's Jurassic Park mixed with Godzilla.
Oh, shit. I love both those things.
That's the thing.
Son of a bitch.
There's that in
now
there.
You've hooked me too. Now I'm brainwashed. You look over, my eyes have like the little swirls in them.
Beautiful. Here we go.
This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it.
Damn right.
Well, back to what's I mean, it's going to be a better film. I've already decided. And it's like the most surest prediction, right?
Of course.
So Godzilla King of the Monsters, the new teaser, and we're pretty close already with the film releasing on May 31st, but we actually got some conflict shots of these monsters, whereas before we got that shot of Monster Zero rushing into Godzilla and then like a cut, right? But now we're getting, Godzilla fights him, but also Mothra fights him, and also Rodan. They fight in the fucking sky, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then we hear one of the cast members say, "There's 17 monsters." We're gonna see way more than just those 4.
And I don't think those 4 are going to be the main ones, right? Obviously, that's what we're going to see. But you're going to see glimpses of the other 17 for sure, even if they only are in there briefly. And you're going to be like, oh fuck, all these monsters everywhere.
The one shot that made me upset as a Mothra fan was when Monster Zero, all 3 fucking heads are just fucking fire off on Mothra's ass. And I'm hoping that it's just a shot of like, oh, Mothra fans like worry, like maybe that's his death. Or Mothra has some kind of fucking thing, some kind of power that shoots those fucking things back at fucking Monster Zero. But even if he dies, Mothra dies to King Ghidorah, I'm still going to say, as I told you earlier, the only reason why Godzilla is going to win is because Mothra weakened him. So he didn't really beat Mothra, beat Ghidorah.
That's not where Mothra dies. But Mothra will die.
Where do you think Mothra will die?
I can't
As
reveal,
a spoiler, apparently.
I can't reveal my palpable powers. You know what I think will happen though? I think we're only going to see 16 monsters in the movie.
Obviously, we're going to get King Kong at some point.
Yep.
Would you lose your shit if he came in and helped?
He's not going to come in and help. Here's what's going to happen throughout the whole movie. They're talking about these 17 monsters, but we're only going to see 16 monsters. And then you're going to be going, oh shit, where's the 17 monsters?
Because everyone's going to be counting for sure.
And it's going to be King Kong, and he's going to be at the end of the credits. And then he's going to be like, ah, or whatever his King Kong noise is.
He's got a roar.
What's his roar?
I'm not going to do that roar. I can't do the King Kong thing, but he's obviously going to come out, and we'll see him in the post-credits scene. I don't know, like, there is a lot in this, and I'm glad that the monsters are not, I think it's solidified now that this is a story of supremacy. It's a story of which monster is going to rule not only the Earth, but the other monsters. So the ones that are not going to challenge him are going to be the ones that don't fight Ghidorah, I guess. So Mothra challenges Ghidorah, Rodan obviously, and then Godzilla, who is going to end up ultimately saving the Earth. We were watching this video where we've known about these monsters. We know Monster Zero has been frozen, and that could be a way in which they incorporate the name Monster Zero, where it is the first monster that they discovered, but not the first one that they cataloged. So that's where they would kind of work in Monster Zero into the name.
I thought you were going to say because freezing is 0 degrees Celsius. Ooh.
That could be it, though. Honestly, that could be it.
What if they do? You'd be like, Kelly, you're a fucking genius. And I'd be like, fucking no.
Right out of Kelly's mouth. You heard it there first.
There it was. From my palpa mouth.
Why do you think, well, we know that Ghidorah gets freed by, what's her name, from Up in the Air. Yes. She ends up being like the villain, I guess, she ends up being Let Them Fight, right?
Let them fight.
She's like, okay, let's unfreeze that and
and open up this and release Godzilla now.
Yeah, it's going to be, it looks amazing. It really does look like an amazing film.
This trailer, I don't think we got too much that we haven't seen from previous trailers. You're not convincing anybody to see the movie at this point, right? This is just to make us even more excited for what we know is going to be a kick-ass movie. Like,
we're all in anyway, and it's just kind of neat to see these iconic shots of Ghidorah standing on top of what looks to be maybe the same mountain that Rodan was flying out of. I don't know. But and then you see like the Christ cross like in the foreground. So there's a lot of very strong imagery in the movie already, and that's what I'm excited to see because we're getting way clearer shots of these monsters than we got in the first, which again is a result of a higher budget.
The thing that I think really did it for me in this trailer though was the soundtrack. Yeah. Their remake of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Did they use that in the last trailer too?
No.
Okay, so this is like all new and the whole time.
From what I remember, yeah.
The whole time I'm like, oh shit, this is really it. Like this is supposed to be a happy song, but we're all fucking dying. It was better than that fucking Geostorm Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I thought was chilling, but this one's even worse.
Giant fucking monsters fucking shit up, trying to fight Rodan, or I'm sorry, Monster Zero. It's going to be great.
I'm
Cannot
so
wait.
ready.
But it's one of two movies that I'm like incredibly hyped about. Obviously, we're going to see Shazam and we're going to have a review next week. But these are like the two movies that's like fucking 2019. Like,
this is our year.
In the months of, fuck man, the Snyder Cut and all this nonsense happening, it's like, this is the shit from Warner Brothers. Godzilla, and now we got the very first teaser trailer. Not first look, as we did before on Instagram and Twitter. The first teaser trailer to Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix.
What's so funny? Freak!
This movie's going to come out October 6th, so... Oh, I'm sorry, October 4th. Around Leo's birthday sometime. Oops. October 4th. We will be there opening day. We've seen this trailer 5 times now.
I think so, yeah.
It has brought me to tears almost every single time.
You're going to cry during them. I think I'm going to cry. Everyone's going to cry during
We're all going to cry. All of us. Everyone in the world.
So let's break this fucking thing down. The Joker trailer. It is the very first one. It is a bad day. One bad day, right? It goes right back to the Killing Joke. And it's pretty much confirmed as well by this teaser that there is going to be that bad day. We get him taking care of his older mom, who I'm assuming is dying. There's going to be some
terminal illness, yeah.
Right. And he has to care for her, and obviously he loves her very much. You see him dancing with her, interacting. It's just beautiful. It sets him up to be a great man, right?
Right.
He's also incredibly thin, and I don't know...
Skin and bones.
I don't think that has anything to do with any kind of degenerative thing, but I think it is a result of depression, which at the very beginning, you get an opening shot of him talking to someone who says, is talking to someone helping. Does that help? So I think that is a result of depression, and probably anxiety is in there too. And the whole theme of the trailer is smiling. He says near the beginning that his mom is always encouraging him to smile and make the world a better place. There's a lot to unpack here. And it's going to be a movie that you are going to analyze and think about and really break down the clues to where Arthur Fleck really breaks down and becomes this insane and tragic character.
I think, so the trailer as a whole, just the feel of it, right? Brought me to tears a few times, gave me chills. Like, it was so heavy, just what this character was going through, because you're already sympathetic towards him from the very beginning, and you're going to be. But I think the hardest part of this movie, when we see it, that we're going to take away, is all the stuff that happened to him could happen to anybody on any day. There's not going to be any one outstanding, especially with this Joker, fell into a vat of, chemicals, and that's how you went crazy. That's not what it is. You see him being beaten up multiple times. You see him taking low-paying jobs just to try and make his bills, because between his mom's sickness and seeing a therapist, how can you even pay for that, right? So he's just trying to keep himself and his mom healthy, and he's got all the worry on top of that. We see him going into Arkham Asylum, so I almost wonder if that's where his mom ends up. And that's why he's going in there to see her, because at some point in the movie, that's where she ends up getting medical assistance.
Based on maybe not having enough money,
right?
That's the only place. Right. That's interesting, yeah.
And
I haven't heard that.
I don't know why he's going in there, but that's, you see him riding the elevator with somebody who's insane, and
he's clearly uncomfortable.
Right, but he's going there. So there has to be a strong reason for him to go there. Not sure what it is. We'll figure it out, of course, when we see the movie. So all these things, he's just down on his luck, and that's what ultimately drives him to do what he's going to do.
Another theory, do you think, now that you mentioned this Arkham visit, do you think maybe that's where he can afford to see a certain therapist?
And that might be it as well.
And that the only reason I bring this up is because there's that scene of the guy looking at him and he says, "What?" And he smiles, like maybe he's judging him based on the fact that he's seen a therapist in the crazy house.
Right. That's very possible. I thought of that one as well. We don't know exactly. Obviously, we will when we see the movie, but there is a reason for him to go there. And I think all these things just compile to make him start killing people, or maybe he never even kills a single person and he's just starting riots where these things happen.
It sounds like Thomas Wayne is the catalyst to a lot of it, where he kind of escalates everything by calling out someone in a mask and saying this isn't how we do things, and maybe it's based on a previous action that he did take, and then from there everything unfolds into what I still think is going to be a day's worth of violence and whatever ends up being until the ultimate end of this movie. There's not going to be a sequel. I don't think there's ever going to be a Joker 2. So this is going to be just a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that is it. Whether or not he dies at the end, this is where we always have to remind ourselves and everyone else that it's about the journey there. It's not about how it ends.
Right. Well, and this is a standalone movie, too. So if he dies, it's not going to be, well, that's not in continuity, or how are you going to bring him back for the next movie? This, I think, is meant to be a beautiful artwork of a movie, right? And you're pulling from this story that has so much potential. The story of Joker, you can do, again, as we've just been saying, so much with it, because he can just be a normal person who goes to these extreme measures, and you can relate him to everybody, because we've all had those feelings at some point of feeling you don't have enough money, or you can't get ahead, or you're overwhelmed by trying to care for yourself and this other person. We've all been there. And so now they're just using this well-known character and making him so much more relatable in here on the big screen.
It's a full-on character study, and that's what this is going to be. It's a digestion of really character. This is all, you're going down that rabbit hole with Arthur Fleck as he loses his mind, and you're sympathizing with him because you've seen this from the beginning. There's a lot in here, again, to unpack. And this is the kind of shit that we live for, right? This is the kind of shit that we love.
You're over here salivating like...
It's like, this is what we needed. Like, we were fucking, now we're eating well. Like, you know, you get full with Aquaman and maybe Shazam, but it's like, this is the meal. Like, this is something that is nutritious. This is the good stuff. And it is, once again, as I mentioned on Twitter, you know, we had Watchmen, we had the Dark Knight trilogy, we had Man of Steel and BVS, and now we have the Joker, which looks to be elevating film, comic book movies yet again. That's what it's elevating. Do you think you can do this on another on the Disney and Marvel side? They would never make this fucking movie.
They wouldn't ever, and to that point, and I'm not as familiar with the Marvel side, but I feel like there's not really too many characters that you could elevate it to this point with. Like maybe Otto when he becomes Superior Spider-Man?
Well, Fox did it with Magneto in X-Men First Class.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was good, but it wasn't a whole movie.
Magneto could be a whole movie if Fox did it.
If
This
Fox
is never going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, with the Holocaust, there's a whole, you could definitely do a Magneto film. Doctor Doom is another huge character for Marvel that, again, they will never do a spin-off R-rated film on that either. So this is, and this is where it all began, right? This is where we started seeing all of the tweets, and it's like, how are the MCU sheep going to react? And the end result is still the same as when they first showed off that first look of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. The one that we all saw multiple times. And it is, the worst critique at that time was, what is this, old man Joker? And this is literally all they had. And now all they have is, this is depressing and dark, and why should we ever sympathize with the Joker? That is the worst that they have to say about this trailer.
And you know
They've got nothing.
That's great.
They've got nothing.
Because they admitted right there that they sympathize with the Joker, so that even the fucking trailer did its job.
Well, they're saying, why should we? Like, they haven't. According to, if you were to ask them, they haven't. But this tells us that they haven't read the comics. They haven't read The Killing Joke. The other thing I've seen is, why do we need an origin for the Joker? Once again, we've gotten multiple origins in the comic books, in the cartoons, in the shows, even the Dark Knight. Like, we've kind of figured out already that Heath Ledger's Joker was pretty much a war veteran, and it connects into the rest of the ammunition and bombs and everything else that he does. So there's a lot in it. This isn't the first time we've seen this story. And as a DC Comics fan, it's like, this isn't old. Maybe if you saw the very first time they ever did a Joker origin, which ended up, it's like, oh, maybe this is too much, or like, why do we need it? Even back then, they didn't say that shit. No one was saying that shit, but now they're saying that because Dark Knight came out where he has multiple origins. It's like, but that's the crazy thing is you don't know. It's like, yeah, that works for that. But we have multiple Joker stories even before the Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
And this is yet another one, and it looks amazing. So that fucking critique, out the goddamn window. What do you have to say about it looking too depressing and too sad? And I just don't know. I don't want to be in that place.
It definitely is going to be a sad movie. Like I said, I cried during the trailer, right? That was just the teaser trailer. It wasn't even a real trailer. So yes, 100%. That's what this movie is going to be. If you can't handle that, then don't see it, right? But don't criticize it because it's not what you like.
This isn't for you.
Right.
The biggest tweet I saw was like, well, this is why I like the Marvel movies, because they're fun and they're comic books. It's like, yeah, this isn't for you. Go watch those. Go watch a Disney movie. And by Disney movie, I mean MCU movie, because Bambi and Hunchback are going to be too fucking much for you. Don't watch those. Watch the MCU fucking shit. Watch that junk food and you'll be in your safe space. This is not a movie that was made with you in mind.
Right.
This was made for people that want to talk about the film, that aren't afraid of being exposed to different ideas, to being exposed to content that is going to challenge them. That is what this is. And clearly, action movies of today, the cookie cutter films that the MCU is, stay there. Stay fucking there. Because this is not going to be something you're going to enjoy or you're even going to get much out of.
Do you foresee this winning Oscars?
People are already calling it. They're
Yeah?
saying like, here's your Oscar. Like there's all kinds of GIFs going out, and it's like,
How
this is going to be the
crazy would it
second
be
fucking Joker.
If Joaquin won an Oscar for this film.
I think it would be his first, is what I'm
Yeah?
seeing a lot of. Like, it's well deserved. He's finally going to get his Oscar. Why not? Why not this one? He's earned it already from previous work.
What if it just sweeps the Oscars? How crazy would that be? Just everything.
I saw Frank Thierry also tweeted like, okay, and this is one of many tweets of, now I'm convinced. Now I'm going to go see it. My response is, are you not a fan of Joaquin? Have you not seen his movies in the last decade?
Right.
What do you mean? Like, I was all in as soon as they fucking said Joaquin, as soon as they said the Joker film, and this is going to be like, let's fucking check it out. Joaquin? Hell fucking yes.
If you weren't sold, the minute you saw him in those little tighty-whitey briefs, you should have been sold. Should been like, yes.
And there's no reshoots on this thing. He cannot get that thin again.
No.
Like, he is thin as, like, that is
So
method
thin.
acting right there.
It was crazy.
Much like Heath Ledger.
Yes. Don't let him die, guys. Where's Joaquin?
He's good.
Where's Joaquin?
He's filming something else, I'm sure.
Okay. Oof. Oof.
It does look like, all right, so next criticism, what are we looking at here? So one I'm seeing is, it's too bad, the ones that do admit that this looks good, it's too bad that this isn't in continuity. Oh, it's too bad. It's like, why?
Why does it
why
need
would
to
we
be?
ever see him again?
Why
Like,
can't you just enjoy a good movie?
It's one standalone film. We know Joaquin's not going to come back for a number two.
No,
It
because
would
he's
not
never
be
getting that skinny again.
You think he'd agree to something that connects into a larger fucking universe, like a
No.
3-picture deal? He's not that kind of guy. And we've seen that before when he did like that quote unquote rap career and he quit acting. Lo and behold, it ended up being like a documentary film, fake documentary. So that's not what he's interested in. This is the project that he's interested in. And then the final thing, because we've gone after the MCU sheep who this is too much for them. And there's not much to say about it because that's the worst they had. And it's like, all right, well, that's it. Is that the DC Belugas, some of them are using this as, the Marvel sheep are using this as a way to trash Jared Leto and his performance. And it's like, guys, these are completely different Jokers and they're both incredible actors. Let's not bring down different ones because they would never work in each other's universes anyway.
Right.
And if you've seen any of Jared Leto's previous work, you know that the guy has the chops. He has, and you've seen Suicide Squad. We both liked the relationship between Harley and Joker, his portrayal of the Joker as well. So what are we even talking about? Why do we have to bring down any of these other previous performances? Because now this looks like, oh man, this looks really fun. Yes, that looks really good. And that was good too. And Heath Ledger's was great too. And Jack Nicholson's was also good. They each worked in their own ways and they're each remembered because of it. They each tried something new.
I'm in 100% agreement. They're different Jokers or different portrayals. So just leave them alone. Stop being B-Chance and calm down.
The one thing we didn't touch on as far as the trailer itself, it looks like we see little Bruce, in which he's kind of making him smile through the gates. And I think this scene of him having the clown nose and walking over the little stone wall there is him peeking over at maybe the Wayne property maybe before or after he saw Thomas.
Maybe he's trying to make Bruce laugh.
Could be that too. And then but that relates also to a scene later on in which he's kind of pulling his mouth into this forced smile, and you see a tear coming out. And then as soon as he lets go, he's obviously distressed. This is, again, a connection to his mental state of his mom always told him laugh and smile and just be happy, and he can't do it. This is that moment in which he's like, I can't do it. There's, again, so much here. So much to digest. This is nutritious as fuck. This is nutritious.
I knew that you were excited to see this because you texted me the link. I was trying to get Leo to take a nap. And I texted back with, did you see it? And you're like, yeah, I already watched it. So I can tell you were ready because you couldn't even wait for me.
Couldn't do it.
Nope.
It's there. Gotta see it. Had to tweet it. And now I have one of the most liked tweets because as soon as I saw it and I fucking tweeted it, there's that GIF from Iron Giant, going back to Iron Giant of, it's art. This is art. And it got a shit ton of fucking likes. I'm like, all right, cool. I was right there at the right time. I should set notifications for the Joker Twitter and just comment immediately. It looks awesome. It looks great.
It's going to be great. We'll be there. Like I said, first day.
Another tweet I saw is like, this is the range of Warner Brothers DC films right now. Like, even if you just focus on DC Comics, like you see Birds of Prey has its own flavor. You see the Joker film, like that has its own feel. You see Shazam, that has its own like lighter tone to it. So it's like we have such a different range of movies compared to the cookie cutter stuff we're seeing from Disney, where every one of those fucking things is the same thing.
I think that goes back to the point that we've talked about several times where I feel for the most part, DC is doing their characters justice. In these movies, the writers, the directors, the actors are really understanding what the characters are about and making films that are the characters. Whereas, again, on the Marvel side, they said, okay, this works. Let's make this again and again and again. And then you have actors coming out and saying, well, I want to play my character a little differently, so I'm going to do it this way.
So here's Ragnarok.
Right. And so then you're getting the same characters all across the board, right? Because they want to put their own spin on it rather than really understanding and saying, this is what the character is about. I'm going to play that character to the best of my ability.
Oh, and also change the comics now. This is Disney mandating so that it matches the movies. So, do that. That spits in the fucking face of the longtime readers.
And then you're losing the feel of who these characters are and why people relate to them and why people enjoy them because now you're changing it so drastically.
So much to fucking enjoy. It was a good week. Very good week for DC Belugas, but that is how we're going to end the news this week. Ended on a strong fucking note. Cannot wait for the next trailer that we do get, but if we don't get it, this is really all you need to sell it. And fucking people saying that, oh, this is going to fucking bomb. Did you see the fucking budget on this? And have you seen all the reactions that are hugely positive?
What was the budget?
A little bit over $50 million.
That's
$50 million for this film that they shot in this this short amount of time, no reshoots. $50 million. You think this isn't going to make a fucking $50 million? Get the fuck out of here.
What if it makes $2 billion?
It's not going to have.
Kelly, calm down.
Like people are like, it's maybe it'll make $1 billion. It's like, well, no, it's not. But it's going to make so much fucking money for them. Hundreds of millions of dollars on this low budgeted film. And it's going to probably get critically acclaimed from the looks of all of this. And people saying, by the way, well, you didn't see I'm getting this page from Bobby at Cuban Slim. You didn't see Ms. Marvel and you decided that that's a bad movie. And you haven't seen Joker and you've decided that's a good movie. The obvious fact being, Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. Brie Larson has not been there yet. Hasn't proven that. Warner Brothers has given us these movies that are more than just, hey, make this until the next one. Make this so that they have to see it for Endgame.
Right.
That's not where we're at. These are whole different worlds. And the evidence behind the history of these movies and these characters, hell yeah, supports the fact of this will probably be amazing. I haven't said that it is amazing. I haven't seen it. I can't. But it looks fucking incredible. And as Joaquin, who is an amazing actor, has proven time and time again, he can do this shit. We're there. This is a sure fucking bet.
But with that, guys, we will wrap up our news for this week. I'm sure we will talk about this movie again very soon. But we will move into our Brocat block. So what happened with Daniel and I this week?
Kicking things off with the greatest Funko Pop of all time, based on the greatest Pokemon of all time, released this week, at least at my comic shop. We got in our shipment. I know some other big retailers got theirs a little bit ahead of time because of the exclusivity deal that they do have where they pay to get them a little bit earlier. But I finally got my Bulbasaur Funko Pop, my 2 Funko Pops for Bulbasaur. Of course I got 2. And I opened mine with Leo. I'm like, hey Leo, this you've seen before. It is Bulbasaur. He liked it. He was kind of looking at it. He wanted to put it back in the packaging. And yeah, it is an amazing little pop. It's smaller than I expected, but that's a product of Nintendo the Pokemon company going, yeah, you got to make sure it's the same proportion as fucking Bulbasaur. Have the big fucking black eyes, but it's Bulbasaur. It's all right, I don't care. I love it. It's an amazing little piece. It's sitting right next to right on my desk. So when I edit, it's right above my mouse, little Bulbasaur.
Just hanging out with you, hey, Daniel.
Yeah,
here I am.
What'd you think of the pop that your son and I enjoyed?
It was really cute. I really liked it.
You like how now you can't say anything negative because
was happy for you.
And Leo? Yeah.
Yeah, you and Leo. Are you throwing him in there so I can't say negative things?
I mean, you can't, right?
I could.
What are you going to say about the pop that Leo and I both liked? Little Leo and
I will say you two crazy.
Oh, you think you're not?
No, I don't really. If you're a Bulbasaur fan, you're going to love this pop.
As Scott and I have been talking about leading up to, because he's a Squirtle guy. And I'm like, all right, I have no beef with Squirtle at all. I actually think Squirtle's kind of cool. But he's like, all right, well, Bulbasaur turned out great. Charmander looks derpy as fuck. He's like, I'm nervous for Squirtle. And I'm like, hey, man, you got a 50-50 shot.
Right? It'll probably be right in the middle. It'll be like, it's Squirtle.
Well, I still think it's going to be either great or fucking terrible. But only he can tell me, because as soon as the thing comes out and they show the design, I'll be like, yeah, it looks like a Squirtle. But for Charmander, I'm like, damn, they really fucked him up.
Poor Charmander.
No, not poor Charmander.
I knew you were going to say that.
Bulbaganda, did you see what they ended up doing? Bulbaganda is a huge Twitter account which promotes Bulbasaur a lot. And I discovered him right around the time when the Build-A-Bear thing was happening, the campaign. And for April Fools, they changed their thing to Charmander Ganda and ended up losing in 4 hours over 200 followers. And he changed it back immediately. He's like, oh, you guys are no fun. And I said, yeah, I learned that shit last year when I did my MCU 24 hours of MCU praising, and I ended up losing a ton of followers. And it's like, yeah, don't do that. People don't like that.
Here's my thing, though. Why aren't people like, oh, yeah, it's April 1st?
Well, a lot of people follow many, many, many accounts. So they're like, wait, I didn't follow this. And they'll immediately unfollow or block or mute or whatever. So that's the thing. Not people don't pay a lot of attention to it. Obviously, I knew it's like, oh, of course it's Bulbaganda, but I'm on Twitter all the time. Whereas someone that's just logging in, and many people do fall for April Fool shit. Like, what the hell's going on? I didn't follow it. And he lost a lot of people.
I had someone on my friends list fall for, did you see Disney's snack ears?
No, what is that?
So, they have the Mickey ears that you can buy, the Mickey headbands.
So they're headbands with Mickey ears on them for anyone that hasn't been to the parks.
And so you can buy the Mickey ears and wear them around the park, and that's just the thing that you do. Well, they showed off some in a video where it was those ears, but they had 2 cups for the ears, so 2 half ears that you put snacks into. So they had Mickey pretzels in them, or they had Dole Whip in them, or they had turkey legs at one point. And they did this whole, it was really well put together. It was like snack and ears, sneers. And they're like, buy them soon. And then at the end of the video, they're like, and April Fool's Day.
How many people are going, where are they? Why aren't you doing them? That's a great idea.
I'm sure a ton of people will, but whatever. They were cool. I was like, cool, snack ears. I would like the Dole Whip snack ears, please.
It'd probably work out. You can share them. That's probably an Instagram opportunity right there.
Except it's going to melt all over your head.
Well, no. You take off the thing and then each of you has one of the ears.
Oh, but if you don't finish it all.
Oh, then you're fucked, yeah. But going back to the Bulbasaur part of it, the last thing of my favorite Pokemon of all time is, as Bulbaganda pointed out, there are now YouTube videos coming out of Bulbasaur is overrated, he's way too popular, and it's like, what the fuck? In the last month, there's been a lot of this. So there's this perceived notion of Bulbasaur is extremely popular all of a sudden. There's a lot of Bulbasaur fans, and I give a lot of credit to Bulbaganda. Like they put out, I don't know what it is, but they put out a lot of stuff on there that's like literally proving that Ivysaur is like an amazing Pokemon. The whole Bulbasaur line's great. And a lot of Bulbasaur fans actually feel like, yeah, that's actually my favorite Pokemon. They can actually speak out on it. Whereas before, you'd kind of be made fun of, right?
Right.
The least popular of the 3 starters. And now these YouTube videos, overrated, too popular. It's like, no, he was never popular. Even now, he's not popular. Let's not fool ourselves. Like, now you're shitting on him? Get the fuck out of here, even more than normal.
Pretty popular.
Since when? Who else do you know that likes Bulbasaur?
Since he got those 2 more fans.
They tripled there, a 300% increase. I can't argue stats. You're right. So what else we got here on the BroCat block? You are now listening to the podcast with our all new mic that we talked about a year ago.
Yes.
Because the Indiegogo campaign ended up getting delayed for pretty much half a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had promised last summer that we would have.
It was like July you were supposed to get it.
Yeah, and we didn't get it. The Indiegogo campaign kept getting delayed and delayed. There was a lot of stuff happening. People were commenting on the campaign. We even got an email from Indiegogo going, hey, did you guys not get any of this? What happened? And that's when suddenly all these updates started coming from Thrawn Max, and Indiegogo got really involved with the fulfilling of these microphones. But now you are hearing the podcast on our brand new mic from Thrawn Max, the Mdro 1.
Thrawn Max. Is that like its title?
That's the company. I don't know.
Like THX, like blows out your eardrums. Do you remember those on the VHS? Like
Yeah.
you turn it up real loud so that you could hear the previews, and then and you're like, oh fuck.
Turn it down, turn it down. Yeah, there was no sound leveling back then.
Nope.
But we ended up going for the higher end microphone because the Brokettes deserve the best.
The best.
So
they deserve to hear my voice in all its amazing quality.
a year and a half ago, we went for that perk and we ended up getting funded. It did like over 600% what the budget or campaign thing was, and delays after delays, but we finally got it in. I did an unboxing. It went up on YouTube, which was kind of like the test audio thing. If you have seen that video, that audio to the unboxing is an untouched, unfiltered, no enhancement test to the actual microphone. What you're hearing now is what I normally go through anyway with since we've used in 2012 was the Yeti, where I clean it up some, I do some bass adjustments and all kinds of little things because I can't just leave it alone. So that's what you're hearing now. It is on the Thrawn Max, and this is what you're going to hear on the podcast moving forward, assuming that the microphone does not fail on us or that the audio ends up being not up to what I wanted. So this is it. We still have the old microphone. It's there, and it's going to be the backup forever until this does not work, or again, until otherwise. So that ended up coming in, and I hope you guys do enjoy this updated microphone, which some of you, if you're hearing this on your headphones, you'll hear the difference. If you're hearing this in your car or out of your phone, it probably sounds exactly the same as last week.
It's got pretty colors. I do enjoy looking at the pretty colors.
Yeah, it's green. It's a green mic right now.
It is. It's green. You can change the color on the bottom. You had it purple, and I was like, nah. It's not Palp approved. It's got to be green.
Not just green, it's Kelly green.
Kelly green, which is the best color in the world.
Probably the same. I'm sure there's Kelly green in Bulbasaur, so I can agree with that. All right, so next thing here on the BroCat block. Why will Kelly, the Emperor, never have another child? You put never. You put never on here. So I guess in any future episodes, they will not hear of a little brother or sister for little Leo.
So today I helped out some friends, a coworker, and I'll preface by saying I was happy to help them out, and I will probably do so again because I understand the struggles of childcare and trying to find someone to watch your kid, right? Especially when there's an overlap hour or 2 or 5 or whatever in between your work schedules and you don't have anybody to watch them and they're not signed up for daycare, and daycare's shitty anyway. You don't really want to take them to daycare, right? So usually I'm off on this particular day, and I said, cool, I'll come help you guys out and watch your baby. Leo and I will come over and we'll hang out. This will be fine. 2 babies is not okay. It's not easy. So we have Leo, who's a year and a half now, and baby Russell, who was 4 months old. So thankfully, Russell couldn't roll over. He just kind of eat, sleeped, and pooped, which is okay. But then I got Leo, who's getting into everything. And then they had 2 dogs who loved Leo, and Leo loved these 2 dogs. And they were all very energetic together. And I would just get Russell to sleep. And Leo started this new thing where when he doesn't get his way, he screams like at the top of his lungs.
He peaks.
Yes.
Like 100%. Like he goes at Julian levels.
It's I don't know what that means. But
Lazy
okay.
game guys. Like every time they stream, he's just peaking when he speaks.
Oh, okay. So that's Leo, right? So I would just get Russell to sleep, and then Leo would scream because he didn't get his way. And so now Russell's awake. So then I got Russell back to sleep. And then I got Leo to sleep because he didn't nap all day because he's Leo. And then Leo was just asleep. And I said, finally. And I had a whole whopping 10 minutes to myself. And then Russell's awake and crying. And then Leo's now awake again. And now the dogs are running around. And I'm just like, oh my God. It was too much. I was Larry David. I don't know how people have kids back to back. If you had children back to back, you are amazing.
Salutes.
Because I don't know how you do it. And then so I texted my mom and dad because we're in a group chat together because I'm cool like that. I group chat with my parents. And I was like, so I watched this cute baby, and I sent a picture. And I'm like, and you will never have another grandchild. And then my mom sent me like 4 texts about how it's rewarding and how I would just get used to it. I'm like, no, you don't get it. You're never having another grandchild.
I like how she super showed her hand by 4 texts of like, no, it's fine. Like, it's great. It's fine. It's good.
It's
very
fine. Rewarding. I loved every moment with you guys.
I clearly want another grandchild.
It was difficult. Oh, they tell me all the time they want another grandchild.
That's crazy.
All the time. They're like, a little girl would be great. Can you just imagine a little girl that looks like Daniel too? And I'm like,
what?
Yeah, that's
a beard and a.
No, just they love Leo's skin because it's your complexion all the time. They're just like, look at his skin. It's so great. Look at his hair. His hair is perfect. Like, they're just crazy about that kid.
That's good. That's good. I've never. That's always something I've wondered. Like, if I ever become a grandparent and like my grandchild looks nothing like me, like, will I relate to it less as like on a biological level? I don't know. Or is there something that we as humans connect with? Obviously, we're all animals, that we connected on a molecular level of this is clearly my kinship, or what was that the word? Right. Like my offspring in a way. The
offspring of my offspring. Right. I think you would still connect. I think one of the really fortunate things that we have, and we talk about it all the time, is that
we have to sense we're related.
Well, yeah, but like your parents and my parents watch Leo all the time. So 2 days a week and 5 mornings of the week when I go over for coffee, Leo's spending time with my parents. So a great example actually happened today. We went over to visit my parents, and they were coming home at the same time that we were walking across the street. So they parked the car. My dad got out. I set Leo down on the ground. He saw my dad and screamed his name and ran across the lawn and jumped up into his arms.
That's cool.
So like that was the first time that my dad saw him today. Was Leo so excited to spend whatever moments he got, with Ada is what he calls him. And so, of course, they're just crazy about it. Like, he gets whatever he wants when he's over there.
And my parents, it's like...
And Mom all the time, she's like, I got graham crackers for Leo. Bring him over. And Leo's like, ah! And running around the house with his graham crackers. And so, yeah, they love him. But they're never getting another one because I don't know. And Mom's like, they would just learn to nap together. I'm like, no, Mom, I don't think you don't understand. And then, so... Russell's mom comes home and she's like cooing at him while I'm holding him. I'm like, okay, here you go. Here's your baby. Gotta go to dinner now.
I like how you say this now, but like 2 nights ago, you were like, do you ever think about getting another one?
Getting another one. Yeah. And then
having another one.
And then I experienced what it would be like. And I'm like, no.
So I bought myself some more time?
Yes.
Before my next
A lot
clone.
more time. Until Leo's like not so.
I thought you were going to say 9. I'm like, that's good. 9.
We'd be like 40-year-old parents.
You're going to have one within 6 years.
I mean, I guess. Is that what I'm saying? I'm just saying my body will break down significantly in the next 6 years.
Well, something that will never break down significantly for you is your love of coffee.
Coffee.
And you haven't had a coffee story in a few episodes,
I
so
haven't.
have at it.
I need a coffee podcast. Can that be our next podcast? Just
Well,
me?
it's in 2 Patreon goals. Two
Just
Patreon goals. That
me
could be the next
talking
one.
about coffee. Yeah, so I have a new favorite Starbucks drink, and it happened by accident.
Really?
Complete accident. So when I go to Wawa, I just get my shots of espresso.
What is Wawa? There's not Wawa
I'm
everywhere.
sorry. Wawa is the best gas station in the world. And now people are going, Kelly, a gas station? And I'm like, no, you don't understand Wawa. So yes, Wawa is a gas station, but the inside is just a world of magic. There's coffees and there's sub sandwiches and there's soup. But it's not like your cheesy 7-Eleven hot dog roller food.
It's like the Joaquin Phoenix of gas stations, the Joker movie.
Thank you. It's really nice. Wawa is great.
Pinky up.
They have some of the best food. They sell their own coffee there. Google Wawa. Just Google it.
WAWA.
Wawa. And you're going to say, that's a weird ass name, Kelly. It's just a great place. So I usually go to Wawa for my coffee because it's cheap. And I get 4 shots of espresso, and then I just dump it in a cup and put some cold milk and some stevia on top and mix it up and go about my way. Because then it makes it like warm. I don't like my coffee hot. I kind of like it room temperature because I feel you can taste the flavor more without scalding your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to go to Starbucks because I'm a Starbucks snob. Oh, and it was like 6 in the morning. I don't know. I was going to work the other day. So I ordered the espresso through the app. And so I get 3 shots of espresso, splash of non-fat milk, and then I add my stevia to it. Last time I got that, they put the warm espresso, the cold milk on top of it, and gave it to me in a warm cup. So I'm like, cool. So this time I go, and there was me and Joanne. Joanne was waiting for her mobile order too, and we're standing there. And they walk up, and they're like, Kelly and Joanne? And they're like, yep. And they hand me a hot cup, and they hand her an iced something. And I was like, okay, cool. And I take it, and again, 6 in the morning, so I'm exhausted. And I go over to mix it in. And Joanne's like, this isn't mine. I think we got it mixed up. And I'm like, okay, Joanne. So I switch with her.
Why'd you get shitty on her all of a sudden? She was trying to correct things.
It was 6 in the morning.
So no matter how she said it, it was okay, Joanne.
I just love, but you have the most white lady name ever too. And the lady's like
racist.
The lady looks at me. She goes, "Oh, you're not Joanne." And I'm like, "No, do I look like a Joanne?"
Apparently you do.
Anyway, so Joanne takes her coffee and go, and so I now have this iced drink, and I don't typically like iced coffee. So
yeah, that's not what you ordered,
right? That wasn't how I thought it was made. So I was like, "Oh man, this is real shitty. I don't like iced coffee." But whatever, it's 6 in the morning. I just need my espresso. So I mix in my thing, put my straw in, get in the car and drive. I'm halfway to work before I take a sip because, I'm focused on turning out and getting back on the road. It was the best damn thing I've ever had, ever.
Fucking Joanne coming through.
It was so good. So I guess apparently when they do that, they're supposed to put it over ice anyway. And whoever made it last time just didn't know what they were doing or didn't make it correctly. But it was so good because it had such a strong coffee taste, right? And then you had the way I sweeten it and then just the perfect amount of the milk in there. And it was great. And it woke me up. And the bitch was only like $2.80.
Nice.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
How big is it?
It was in a tall cup.
Oh, okay.
But it has the same amount of espresso as when we get a venti.
Yeah.
So it wakes me up to the same amount.
Only reason I asked is because I sip on this giant cup of coffee throughout the day. And I kind of measure it out to where by the end of it, it's like, all right, I can finish this thing. So if I had a little thing, I would just sip it and it'd be done within 2 hours. Yeah, it'd be hyped for the rest of the thing, but it's like I gotta have something like some fuel. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I also had a second cup of coffee later in the day.
There you go.
Like during my break, I make another one. But especially when I work those early mornings, I need that espresso just to get going. So I did sip on it for the first 2 or 3 hours of my day. But it was so good. It was delicious.
So how do you make it? What would they have to order at their Wawa, if they have one, near them to get this Palpa Kelly new favorite drink?
I mean, you're never going to order it through Wawa. So if you were to order it through Starbucks. Yeah. If you were to order it through Starbucks, you would order a triple shot of espresso over ice with non-fat milk in a tall cup. And then I add stevia to it because I'm on that no sugar thing.
Well, there you go.
I think we should get it tomorrow. You need to try this so you can
I'll
go,
try it tomorrow. I don't
Kelly,
care.
it just tastes like regular coffee.
And it will, but I'll try it.
It's delicious. It's so good.
I always give the owner of my shop a hard time because he's like, what? Because I always have my one tall, giant cup of coffee. And he's like, what, do you just have that throughout the day? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what, your lukewarm coffee all day? And I'm like, dude, I can't just go out and make coffee or buy a coffee. I don't have a fucking coffee maker in the store that I could just be like, oh, I'm just going to go make another cup. I'm not working out of my home.
We can get you a Keurig for the store.
Yeah, that actually wouldn't be a terrible idea. But then it's we got to figure out the cups, and then I got to refill the sugar, I guess, or whatever the milk.
Use.
I mean, we do have a fridge, but this is more maintenance now.
They make the small Keurigs. Have you seen them? They're only this big.
Can they fill a giant cup of coffee?
Yeah.
And what cups would I use then?
You just get cups or get a refillable cup, and you could rinse it out in the sink.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You know me, I got to throw my shit away. I just got to get rid of it.
Coffee. You can buy paper cups, or every time you go to Lucky's or Starbucks, you just ask for an extra cup underneath it.
I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to be that guy. But I do want to be the guy that thanks our Patreon supporters, and that is the next portion of the show, our shout-outs of the week.
We have 4 shout-outs this week. First one goes out to Alexander, whose Twitter handle is @SwordfishShow. You can also find him at purpleswordfish.com.
In case you missed it, the Dead Channel Duo has returned. Dead Channel Duo podcast. You can find it on your favorite podcatcher, whatever you're listening to us on right now. You can find their podcast on that application. So just search Dead Channel Duo, and they talk about sports. They talk about film. They have the DCD Film Club. Mm-hmm. And last episode, they actually reviewed my favorite movie of all time, which is The Fountain.
Oh.
And Al actually did it justice. He liked it more than Andy.
That's awesome.
Neither one of them interpreted the movie as I did, but I was still
And my interpretation is the right one.
Is the correct one.
Yes, of course.
It is not different, it is timelines. I will say this about The Fountain, right? Because I know we have mutual listeners that listen to both of the shows. So and as you know, you've seen The Fountain. The Hugh Jackman portion of him in the future, which is him on the bubble, which is him on the spaceship, which is him in what NASA now, or predicted at the time that the movie was made, is what spaceships are going to be, is the tree that Hugh Jackman's character took with him into space because he refused to accept death, and he continued to renew his body and continue to stay young into the future because he would not accept his wife's death. She continued living through this tree, and he would take them into what would inevitably be a reborn star, which is a supernova continuously reborn. But before they could make it, the tree died, so he failed his mission. But that's when you have 2 different alternate endings in which he accepts death in 2,000 years later, or he accepts death now, and he plays with Izzy and does not go for the cure that she would have. And I love the movie. I still go with future Hugh Jackman because it's don't stop. Continue trying to find the cure. And he does find it, but it's too late. Beautiful movie. Great movie. And you can hear their full review again on Dead Channel Duo.
Our next shout out goes out to Lourdes and Katie.
Katie was stoked to hear that Isai Morales was cast as Deathstroke in DC Universe's Titans. So we have a brown Deathstroke. Senor Deathstroke. Senor Slade Wilson. Is this brownwashing, Kelly?
I hope that's how he talks.
I doubt it.
That would make me happy.
It'll still be, Slade Wilson. I think. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But she's a huge Deathstroke fan, so she's happy.
Our next shout out goes out to Bobby, whose Twitter handle is @CubanSlim.
Bobby promoted the Kickstarter campaign for High Rise. It is a board game about construction and corruption that Bobby has personally played.
Corruption, hey?
I'm sure there's corruption in construction. Corruption in that's another podcast name right there. Have construction people on your podcast and talk about the corruption that goes on in those.
I mean, you could. They're shady people sometimes.
All that wolf calling, wolf whistling?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Last shout out this week goes out to Neil on Twitter @NMATZ68.
Neil tweeted out, Quote, athletic training is not always dynamic. It's not always stretching or taping or rehab. Sometimes it's just talking to the athletes to make sure they are good to go, end quote.
How do you feel about that as a runner?
That is a big part of it. The running, doing anything athletic, I'm sure, is a lot more mental than it is physical. And it really is. I wanted to die during all of my marathons, but I made it through because I told myself I gots to do it. I would just like to know, I want to get back into running. Can Neil, be my personal trainer? But I'm not going to pay anything.
So a huge thank you to Alexander, Lourdes and Katie, Bobby, and Neil for being our Patreon shoutouts this week. If you too would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. And for just $1 a month, if you have $1 to spare, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke, and you will get us $1 closer to our next Patreon goal, which right now is to have an app on the on the Android store for the podcast. And then right after that, the next goal is a second podcast.
But of course, the best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know what you thought of the show, what you would like to hear more of. Let other people know about us. That's how you spread the word and help our followers continue to grow.
If you would like to support us via t-shirts, head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on merch, and you can check out our different t-shirts with our logo, with our different inside jokes. We've got the Barvo Studios one, which just went up. And you can also represent the podcast in that way.
And as always, a very special shout out to Jose from decalavenue.com for his help at the $5 reward tier.
Let's head into our final part of today's podcast, which is our comic book highlight of the week.
As we said in the very beginning, this is Detective Comics number 1000, celebrating 80 years of Batman.
The credits are never ending. We have different variant covers. We have different covers. Main covers by Jim Lee. But the authors, you've got Paul Dini, you've got Kevin Smith, you've got Scott Snyder, James Tynion IV. There are so many credits in this massive issue. Kevin Nolan has a credit in there, of course.
Tom King.
Yes, and
Brian
we are
Michael
going to go
Bendis.
through, Bendis, who had his first work was in Action Comics 1000 for DC, as far as when he came back to Marvel, because he had previous DC work. But this one is the big one. It is the big boy, Detective Comics 1000, $9.99 on this huge giant, I think it's, 96 pages on this guy.
Worth it.
And it does fit in a Silver Age bag and board. I'm going to tell you straight up because I tried to put it in a current comic bag and board, and it does rip the plastic if you're not careful. So just throw it in a Silver Age bag and board, then it'll fit it nicely. So let's go through a couple of these stories that were in this 96 page celebration of the Batman.
Do you want to go through them in order? Do you just want to talk about which ones stood out to us?
We can go through it in order, even if it's not something that we super, enjoyed or it stuck with us, but we can at least give our brief thoughts on it. A lot of shows are doing that right now, especially on YouTube.
Perfect.
The first one was The Longest Case, which is written by Scott Snyder, drawn by Greg Capullo.
This one, the gist of it is Batman goes around for years following all these different clues. Turns out that it's to go to this special detective league. I don't know. That's where it leads him to, where they're trying to solve all the greatest mysteries of the universe that haven't been solved. And he's now been inducted into that league.
This only makes me want a Scott Snyder Batman book again. We ended up dropping out of Justice League, and I don't think that Scott handles those characters as well as, Batman and his Bat family. So this is kind of what I wanted. And maybe Last Night on Earth is going to be the end of it because of Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's last Batman story being that. But I felt this was more of a setup to future comic books, or maybe a future miniseries or ongoing. So to me, I didn't get a whole lot out of it.
Right.
Greg Capullo's artwork, amazing as always. Story itself, more of a setup than anything.
Agreed.
The second story in this issue is the one that you probably have heard a lot about, and that was Kevin Smith's, along with Jim Lee as the artist on it. And it is the kind of conversion. A lot of people put too much weight on it of like, oh, is that really what's under Batman's armor? And then, by the way, this whole Detective 1000 review is going to be a spoiler for this issue. So if you don't want certain things revealed or the payoff, then we'll see you next week. This is kind of your warning, and this is basically it. But with Kevin Smith, it's the story of how he converts the tragedy that was the death of his parents, the murder of his parents, into something positive. And the final thing to the story is, I'm churning my pain into my protection. The thing that broke my heart is going to protect it.
Right.
So what he does is if you want to tell them.
So he puts on Matches Malone. I was so happy to see Matches Malone. But he goes and he finds someone who's actually selling the gun that killed his parents, purchases it, and then melts it down and takes the metal to place behind the bat symbol in his suit so that when he gets attacked there or shot there, it's not going to go through him, right? It's going to bounce off of that. The thing that caused him so much pain is ultimately going to be what protects him.
And that's the theme throughout these different pages is there's different villains going after his chest, whether it's a scratch or a slash or a hammer, and it's that gun that killed his parents that's protecting him. So it's definitely a Kevin Smith thing. Like he teared up as he fucking wrote that.
Of course.
The next story then is Paul Dini as the writer, one of the co-creators of Harley Quinn, with your favorite artist of all time.
Wynn.
Which we had said this whole issue could have just been Paul Dini and Dustin Wynn.
It was great. I really enjoyed this one. I could see where it was going from a mile off, right? But the whole time I was eating it up like, nom, 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 nom.
So the whole thing is there's a Gothamite that has been in these different, has had his hands in these different villain plots, and it's like, wait, I didn't fucking kill that guy. I didn't kill that guy.
He shows up as like a henchman.
Every single time, and they're played off as like he's a fucking idiot, he's a dumbass, and I should have
stopping all these things because he's stupid.
He ruins it. It's like, oh, okay, obviously they're working for Batman, and that's where the payoff really is. But the whole Bat family is involved in this particular character, so it's kind of like a Matches Malone the second, if you will. The next story was the Batman's Design, as written by Warren Ellis with art by Becky Cloonan.
This is a Batman going around fighting this group of guys, I guess, and he has studied all of them and knows different things about them, so he's kind of taking them down different ways, sort of, and narrating within his head about why he's doing that. He pulls them out of town so they're not going to hurt anybody, and then has bombs set up everywhere because he's Batman, but he reminds us that he's not killing them. They're okay. And then at the end, of course, he comes to the leader and plays a giant game of chicken of whether or not he'll set off this dirty bomb. Yeah,
that's the best part. He's like, look at me. I'm fucking dead. I'm a ghost. You want to become me? And that's when the guy's like, no. And that's the end. Like, it's at the end of the Batman the Animated Series. Like, it's a great ending. My least favorite story of Detective Comics is the next one we're going to talk about. It's Return to Crime Alley, which I feel like we've seen this before, not only in the animated series, but in the comic books.
Right.
But it's the anniversary of the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne. So Leslie Tompkins and Batman get held up in this particular alley, and the whole fucking story is her judging Batman for beating the shit out of criminals. And that's the fucking thing. And she just makes him feel like a piece of shit by the end of it. And I'm like, why is Tompkins being such an asshole? Like, I don't know. Like, that was never the character to me.
That wasn't the character to me either. Her whole point was you could have used your money and your time and your resources to do better things for people, like actually fund places that would help these kids and all this different things. But whatever.
Leslie, that doesn't work. You need someone like Batman to fucking fix Gotham. That's the whole fucking thing. That's not Leslie to me. This was the weakest story of the bunch.
I agree.
I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for you. It's like, that's the end of the fucking... No, we're done. Next story was Heretic by Christopher Priest, who's worked on Black Panther in the past. Art by Neil Adams.
This one is a Ra's al Ghul story. You find some dead kid, and Batman's like, I'm going to figure out who it is. And then I don't know why Batman sounds that way, but he does now. And then he talks to Ra's, and Ra's is like, it wasn't me, detective, but let's go make another baby. Fight shirtless or something. And come to find out that it's some I don't know. You explain it. It lost me.
It's like
the end.
yeah, the ending is what I was really confused about because it was trying to be like Batman is taking over for that particular lost life, and the League of Assassins is what I got out of it, but it wasn't clear at all as to what Batman was taking over for. It's a very abrupt ending.
So I think what I got out of it, essentially what happened when he was Bruce Wayne, somebody went and stole his wallet with all his money in it, et cetera, et cetera. That prompted the guy who stole his wallet to want more than just the League of Assassins, to want to do, because the League of Assassins is very closed network, right? They don't have any need for money or anything like that.
Right.
But because of that greed, because of the money that he had now, he wanted to branch out and be more like Bruce Wayne, be more like Batman. So he left. He's been running, and his brother went and murdered him and then left him with the Wayne Enterprises card, like the business card, as calling out Bruce Wayne, like, you did this. And that's essentially what he said, is he wanted something outside of the League, more in line with what you have, and that's not okay. So we killed him. And then Batman's pretty much saying, well, just so you know, if any of the rest of you want that, like, essentially you have my protection. Like, I support that. And they're like, whatever, man. And they laugh.
We're too cool for school.
Pretty much. It kind of fell flat at the end.
Next story is one that you really liked.
I did. The one by Brian Michael Bendis.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
Alex Maleev, who was not very nice to us at MegaCon.
He wasn't, but his art was beautiful in that one.
It's called I Know.
It's called I Know. And it focuses on the Penguin, who somehow the Penguin fucking figures out who Batman is.
Tim Burton Penguin, by the way.
Mm-hmm. The dialogue was kind of choppy, I will give it that. And there were a lot of winks from the
that's
Penguin.
Bendis. Like, Bendis keeps doing these fucking word bubbles of like, we have to have 18 word bubbles in one panel.
In one panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 in one panel.
Damn
there
it,
was
Bendis.
a lot. But I think the art is fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
And you ended up liking the story.
And I did kind of like the story where Penguin goes through this whole thing. Both he and Bruce are old AF. And he goes to see Bruce, and he's pretty much like, I figured out who you were, and this is why I did it, and I kept you alive. Like, I didn't kill you. So you should be thanking me for keeping you alive. And old ass Bruce fucking electrocutes him. And he's like, I knew you knew, and I knew you were a fucking coward, so it didn't even matter. And he's like, they told me you couldn't talk. And he's like, peace out.
Good visit.
See you later, bye.
This next story was a future type of tale as called The Last Crime in Gotham, as written by Jeff Johns, my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Jeff Johns. Art by Kelli Jones.
Oh, secretly me. Those are stick figures, you just can't tell.
So this is kind of like the way I interpreted Jeff's story, and it may or not be true, maybe he and I talked about it, I don't know, is it was like this is what he wants it to be. This is what he wants his future to be. It is literally a happy ending to the Batman mythos.
You have Batman with his family, Catwoman, his wife, and Damian, his son from that
his
woman,
greatest kid, yes.
That one woman. And then Catwoman and Batman's daughter, Echo.
Echo, yeah, like I don't know if they mix too well. I don't know.
That's just a weird name, but
yeah, and she's kind of weird
whatever.
too. Like, he should just make another baby with Talia.
So they've reached the point. Calm down. They've reached the point where there's no more crime in Gotham, right? These villains are actually being rehabilitated and apologizing, and somebody named their kids Batman and Bruce or something. I forget what. Batman and Robin. That's what they named their kids as an apology, right? Gotham is becoming this great thing, and then suddenly there's a murder of 12 people, all dead.
And I guess they all end up being villains in Gotham City, as kind of put out by Joker 2, who ends up being Joker Jr.
The April Fool.
Yeah, I guess that's what they end up calling him. But on his card it says like J2, the April Fool, who ends up also offing himself along with this other group of people. But do we really know why does he take this act on cleaning up the big villains in Gotham?
I don't know why he did it, but he did leave a card that essentially said the chemical that was killing my father is killing me too. So in this, Joker died. And then, so the chemical that killed my father is killing me too. Like, it's better this way. Without family, you have nothing.
And that's when the final part of the story is just revealed to just be his birthday, blows the candle was blown, and it's like, all right, well, I guess that was the wish, which I guess didn't happen, or are we going to get Echo in the future?
I don't know. That was interesting. That makes sense then that it didn't happen, because at the very last panel, you see Batman by himself.
And Alfred says, I hope you made a wish.
Right. So, yeah, that must have been his wish. I hope that we see it in the future, but I hope they come up with a better name than Echo.
Damien's way cooler. All right, the next story is The President.
The Precedent.
P-R-E-C, yeah. How do you say that? Precedent.
Precedent.
By James Tynion IV, with pencils by Alvaro Martinez Bueno. And this is essentially a sidekick type of story where Richard Grayson is proving why he is worthy of knowing and not being the one that's rehabilitated, but instead being the one that helps Batman. He could be the one that's just go back to, having your own family unit and, join this foster family. But he says, no, I want to be a part of the work that says there doesn't have to be future Robins.
Well, I won't say there doesn't have to be future Robins, because they do
future
mention,
Batmans,
right,
I'm sorry.
there doesn't have to be future Batmans. So pretty much the whole point of this, and I don't think I really liked the delivery of it, but I did like the message behind it, is that while Batman was born out of the darkness, Robin was born out of the light. So he's still a hero who's trying to do what Batman's doing for Gotham, trying to save Gotham, working in the shadows, right? But he's born out of the light, so he does it differently from Batman. And kind of the whole point is there will be others like me, but let me help you set the precedent of how they should be trained, what they should be like, how they should come about, rather than take the dark road that Batman did.
So that they don't come out like him.
Right.
The other story is also is this selfie? Is that what this
pretty
is?
much. A Bat family story.
Written by Tom King, art by Tony Daniel and Joel Jones, with colors by Tameo Mori. And I guess it's him appreciating his Bat family or his unit in the Batman universe. And it ends up finishing off with this great splash page of him and the rest of the characters, everyone that we've really known since the New 52. And before that, of course.
I enjoyed this one as well. I'm glad Catwoman was still there, still a part of the family.
Kind of gives us hope, right? For how Batman will end.
I have hope forever.
We do get a couple of different prints and art pages of the Batman universe. There's Amanda Connor. There's a couple of different neat little pages that we do have, but it eventually merges into the history of Batman. You have him fighting Man-Bat, Mr. Freeze, leave Mr. Freeze alone, and also fighting Ra's al Ghul shirtless.
Yeah.
With Talia al Ghul, one of the greatest tales of all time, which is Batman.
Calm down.
And it's the Arkham Knight, as we know in the solicitation.
Is that who that guy was?
Making his or her debut.
I got bored by all those word bubbles.
And you get the Court of Owls in there as well. So it's a celebration of the Batman universe. And I do like that the Batman and Robin New 52
with nobody
story
or
of
whatever.
Nobody. And that Pat Gleason story is represented in here as well. I'm like, fuck yes. It's one of the best moments. It's one of the most underrated runs in Batman comics, I think, because of Court of Owls and Scott Snyder's run. That's an amazing run, and that was represented in here. So I'm like, fuck yes. So it ends with Arkham Knight, I guess, saying that Gotham deserves a better Dark Knight or a better Batman. I don't understand what the exact motivation is, but it's also just an introduction of this particular version of the Arkham Knight. And in the video games as well, we did get Jason Todd, I guess, saying that we need to kill the criminals and that's going to make a better Gotham in the future. I don't know if this is the same type of take that Peter J. Tomasi is going to have on the character, but it's still a really neat thing. Didn't Peter J. write? No, it was Jeff Johns that wrote Arkham Knight, and he's now working in DC Comics again. So there's that connection. I still don't think it's going to be Jason Todd, but did you feel like this was a nice kind of precursor to what we're going to get in 1001?
I guess. I told you I got bored with all the word bubbles. So I just kind of skimmed it. I'm like, these pictures look nice.
There's Raish again.
And then I saw the guy at the end. I'm like, oh, new villain.
It's the Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight.
All right. Now I know. Thank you for clearing that up for me. After all those great stories, then I got that thing. So
if you want your first in continuity appearance of the Arkham Knight in the DC universe, it is DC Comics Detective Comics number 1000. But that is our review of that massive 96-page special.
Yes.
Huge thanks to tuning in and for making it this far on the podcast. As always, the biggest way that you can help out the show is to tell a friend. If you know a fellow DC Beluga especially, they will probably enjoy the show. But if not, if you know someone that might like the different news that we cover, let them know. As always, point them on over to thereasonsimbroke.com.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in this and every single week. I am your Emperor Papa Kelly.
And I'm Cool Trainer Daniel.
And Broke at Core,
All will be well.